Welcome back to another episode. Will these comics make good movies and television? We got Batman among others. Let's find out what's going on right now. All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are episode 31. Crazy. So, I am your host, Frank Zanca. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, comic book writer, and a working line producer. Recently moved from LA to GA, baby. That's right, we moved to Atlanta, and I'm hoping to get back to work after the holidays. There are hopefully some stuff going on prior to that. But yep, so let's get into what's going on. But before we do, you're probably asking, Frank, what kind of comics do you write? I know that was on your mind. So right now, literally right now, we have a Kickstarter running for my series, Lords of LA. This is exactly what's actually on Kickstarter right now, but only half of it. I have half of it already finished, which means that if you're getting on board right now, not only are we fully funded, but on top of that, the book is even half colored, inked, penciled, lettered, everything. So you don't have to wait very long to get your pledges. So that's exciting stuff. And I printed it out so I could read it and make sure that the dialogue all works and that there's no spelling errors and grammatical errors. And I did find one already. But anyway, so if you haven't gotten episode 1 or issue 1, guess what? You could get issue 1. They're all both 48 pages, so you're getting double what you normally would get on Kickstarter. Normally they're 20, 22 pages, and these are 48, so you're getting double. And so you'll be able to get both issues, so you can do catch up and stuff like that. It's a vampire mob set in 1950s. It does have a special appearance by Marilyn Monroe and Barbara Stanwyck on their set of Clash by Night, which is a real film. So we have vampire action. It is adult, so there is some sex and gore and things to that effect. Anything you'd kind of possibly want in a vampire comic. So check it out. The QR code is over here. The description, the link below, also has a link, or you can just go right to Kickstarter and type in Lords of LA, and you can see them there. All right, thank you guys so much for supporting. I really appreciate it, and anything you can do to support is awesome. You know, we only had $800 left to unlocking the next stretch goal. Every time we unlock the new stretch goal, it means free stuff for everyone. So there you go. Doesn't matter when you've put in, but you will always get the free stuff. All right, so let's get into this. And yes, I did get a haircut finally. But let's get into Batman and Robin, our first pick out here. So Batman and Robin, this is by Joshua Williamson. I still have not gotten used to, not that the artwork is bad, it's just so different that it's hard to get used to. It's almost got like an anime feel to it. Like there's White Rabbit running and she almost looks very anime. But you know, the perspective's all good and stuff like that, but it's just hard for me to get used to. So we have a new character, a new villain. It's a female version of Hush by the name of Shush, or how some other people call it Shush. So we have White Rabbit. They're trying to track down White Rabbit, and so is Shush. And she had given Batman some kind of a poison that attracts bats to him and makes them attack him, but he's been out continuously, and that's never happened again since the one issue. He, for some reason, thinks that because she looks like Hush, that Tommy Elliott is involved, though there has been no evidence to this. So that was kind of odd. And Damian was going to school in the last one. He just kind of skipped school, and Batman keeps telling him to go back to school, but we don't ever see that school portion again. It's almost like a wasted opportunity. And we have like King Shark, or I guess the Terrible Trio is like part animal. And Batman goes to defuse bombs while, you know, Hush takes White Rabbit away. And of course he defuses the bomb at 1 second, or whatever. So, and literally Batman and Damian are riding side by side. And although I don't think that Damian is old enough to drive a car, I don't know. And he's like, "Oh, go back to school. Go back to school." Nah, I'm not gonna go back to school. Okay, don't go back to school. I mean, that's basically what's going on here. And so Batman drives up to where White Rabbit's getting driven around by Hush, and he's like, trust me, just jump into my car." And she does into this big acrobatic jump between cars, and Hush crashes and I guess explodes, but of course she's not dead, so I don't know what's going on there. It's kind of a waste there too. And then Damien goes to help a scientist or whatever else, and Man-Bat jumps through the window and they fight, and that's where the thing ends. So yeah, don't know. But will this make a good film or television show? No, not really. It's not very good, unfortunately. And in the first issue, I really liked the dynamics between them. They were at home, kind of talking and making breakfast, and he's trying to be a good dad, and and then he tries to get him to go to school, and it's just continually diminishing towards this really strange story that's going nowhere, and we have a regurgitated villain into a female form instead of making a new villain. Yeah, it's just not good. And I don't know how long. I've already dropped like every Batman title, and I really kind of hoped I was gonna keep on this one, and I'm probably not gonna keep on this one either. It's like Batman's dead. I don't know how they could kill off all the Batman titles, but I tried Ram V's Detective. It was too strange for me. I didn't like it. Chip Zdarsky has totally gone off the rails. His train is so far off the rails, he's like dropped off 3 different cliffs. I dropped Catwoman. Teenie Howard is destroyed that character too. So literally, and then they put Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, who I absolutely despise as writers. They put them on a new Outsiders book. I loved Outsiders, and I took one look at who was writing it, and I backed away. And I mean, they destroyed Captain America. Now they throw them into a Batman book. It's really. And then I watched the reviews of it, and everybody said it was horrible. Well, I knew that was coming. So there are certain writers I just stay away from, and that's the guys. Everybody I keep staying away from is the ones they keep dropping into titles. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not collecting that. All right, I guess I'm not collecting that. And plus, you raise up to $5, so you dropped quality and raised price. What is going to happen? Your company's going to continually to lose income. It's kind of like what Disney did. Yeah, I'm going to give you less, but then I'm going to raise the price. Well, I'm not going to pay that. Even what they did with Star Wars, all the issues for Star Wars, they jacked them all up to $5. Guess what? Instead of collecting 4, I'm down to 1. So you lost 3 pieces of income to get 1. To get $1 off me, you lost. Assuming that they stayed at $4, assuming that, I lost $12 to gain $1. That's not good business, man. It's just not good. And then you have other things. I'm going to go into G.I. Joe here for a second too. But they did like newspaper print, paper, and they kept the price low. I don't care about the paper. Drop the quality of the paper. I don't care. Just keep the price the same. Because comics at $5 are too expensive, and now I got to start dropping books. It's just the way it is. All right, then I was just looking at Jeremy Adams' Facebook thing. We're friends in real life. In fact, he even posted Lords of LA for me on his social media, which I really appreciated. So, Jeremy, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And of course, I'm going to support everything he does. So I'm reading Green Lantern, and truthfully, this is the best issue that he's done so far. I really appreciate his writing. If you haven't watched, if you have Max or DVD, you can buy it on DVD. The Super Sons one that he did, the cartoon, that was excellent. I watched that before I knew him, and it was really good. My knowledge of him didn't affect my viewing of that, and I really enjoyed that. But anyway, so this storyline, Sinestro doesn't have any powers. His ring is empty and of power, and um, Hal has this ring that he created by will, but can also use any of the other spectrums, which is strange. So I'm not really into that. I like this the spectrums being separated rather than him being all powerful. But anyway, so we find out later that he wants to instill fear in, as he's stuck on Earth, in Earth to help him charge his ring. He's feeling that instead of a power battery, if there's enough fear on the planet, it will automatically charge his ring. I've never seen that happen before, but it's a good idea. So I like that. So he ends up stealing two of the or several of the planes from Carol. I forgot Carol's last name. But anyway, she's Carol Ferris from Ferris Eras. So they're starting, the planes are drone planes, and they're starting to attack other cities and other countries. So she's afraid that they're going to start, World War III, which is what Sinestro wants. And so Hal immediately tries to go after them. And so the rest of the whole book is him destroying these planes in imaginative ways. And then he has two planes that are too far away from one another in opposite directions. He can't do both before they start dropping missiles. So he sends off two different constructs and then they're trying to guide the constructs through radar or through satellite radar, which I thought was pretty interesting. Although Wes, from his knowledge, says, yeah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So he said he offered to Jeremy to ask him next time about when he's running radar to add his expertise to that. So yeah, so he creates these two animal-based constructs, and they go in opposite directions. And of course, he succeeds in destroying both of them before the missiles go off, which really pisses Sinestro off. And so Hal lands to talk to Sinestro, and he's like, yeah, your plan was never going to work. I was going to stop you no matter what. And he's like, yeah, but you know what else you did for me? You pissed me off. And now, instead of instilling my ring with fear, you've instilled it with rage. So I don't know. I've never seen rings that can change color, but does that change the symbol on them too? I don't know. But I like that idea that they could be charged with other emotions, and yeah, I'm not against that idea. I just wish I hope he goes into it a little more about how that mechanic would work, since he's doing something generally brand new. And then we go into Sinestro's son, who's not on Corrigar and is like an orphan, and he's working for a guy that you have to pay to get food and the whole bit. And we're in this weird thing. I don't know who. He's not writing this one, I don't think. But anyway, it's just a waste of money. Tomasi's writing it, who's not a bad writer, but I really wish that they would stop with these backup stories and charging us $5 for stories that I don't care about. So will it make a good film or television? I would have loved, because I don't dislike the first movie as much as everybody else does. I think the biggest problem with the first Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds again was not a bad Hal Jordan. But they just, and this was what's his face that did all the writing. No, I just saw them together. So yeah, I forgot his name, but he's a very famous comic book writer. Does really good stuff. I love what he did a lot of this stuff with Rebirth, and he wrote this thing not having Sinestro as the big baddie for the first movie, which was a complete mistake. He's like, oh, we'll do that for the next movie. Well, you can't do that. You have to assume that you're going to be successful with the first movie to get a second movie. I like what they did with Kilowog. I like what they did with Oa. I loved the guy who played Sinestro. But again, we didn't need that setup. All we needed was to say that he was a Green Lantern, and now he's got a Sinestro core thing. That's all we needed. So we didn't need them setting that up. And I think that was the big problem. Instead, we got this villain that's a big globulous, monster. It just doesn't work, man. It just didn't work. And that was the problem. So I'd love to see another Green Lantern movie with Hal and John Stewart. John Stewart's a great Green Lantern. He's one of my favorites, especially coming from the cartoon and his relationship with Hawkgirl. I thought all that really worked. So, and Hal is of course my favorite Green Lantern, but John Stewart's my next, and Sinestro is one of my favorite villains. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. And I don't know if this particular story would work because we'd have to get introduced to Sinestro first, but a Sinestro Green Lantern movie would work. So it's just he didn't fucking do it. he wanted to start out with this parallax globulus thing. With the mental gymnastics behind that must have been phenomenal. All right, so I'm going to say yes and no to that one because that wouldn't work on its own. All right, let's go into Big Game. So this is basically 2 issues in one. It's $6 to end the Big Game thing. Where in the beginning, if you know anything about the Mark Millar universe, if you've seen Kick-Ass or if you've seen Kingsman or anything along those lines, those are all Mark Millar TV shows that are coming from his comics. Wanted was another one with Angelina Jolie. So there's been a bunch of his ideas and books that have already been made into films and television shows, and he's got to deal with Netflix. So we have he just did Nightclub, which is kid vampires that are superheroes, and as I said, Kick-Ass, Hate Girl, just a pile of them. Nemesis being a villain, like a Batman villain. He's Batman-esque, but he's a villain instead of being a hero. So he and a bunch of other superpowered characters, and then this thing called the Magic Order that just completed also with the second volume of that. So that they're not getting involved in this whole battle because it's not magic based. So, and Kick-Ass has no powers, and he's trying to figure out how to do everything. But anyway, these ambassadors, so you have a super powered character from each of the countries, and as I said, the Nightclub guys, and then we have these time traveler people. They all get massacred. And as we know, once you introduce time travel, it's very easy to put everything back the way it was. Almost too easy. And that's what we're seeing here. So we get everybody massacred. Hit Girl goes back in time and meets these other people, this other futuristic group. And when they do a mind thing on her, she realize that in her memories there's no memory of this particular Thanos type of character. So they're like, well, we have to go take that place over because apparently in the future you are not this dictator that you are now. So he sends his team into the future to take it over, and Hit Girl, escapes and jumps onto that whole thing. And so now we basically have 2 Hit Girls in the future. So whenever you introduce time travel, I'm really, really against using time travel as a plot device to fix stuff that you've done. Maybe not fix, but undo. Like it's almost like a do-over. Like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to roll those dice. I need a do-over. And that's how I felt. And if you watch my review of Endgame, you'll know that I absolutely despised Endgame. I loved Infinity War and despised Endgame. I thought it was the worst. You can't really compare it to Love and Thunder. I'll watch that again rather than Love and Thunder or the Marvels. or even She-Hulk. But when it comes to like the core uh, Avengers, Tony Stark, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, when it comes to them, it was one of the worst. I've only seen the movie once because it totally threw everything to the wind. They, as far as I'm concerned, they're cheating when they do that. The time travel movies I like are ones that are circular, that the present can't exist without the person going back in time to deal with something, a la Terminator. You know, Terminator is the perfect sci-fi time travel movie because one, it can't exist without the other. If Reese does not come back in time, then John Connor doesn't exist. I love that. So, and how everything was set up in the beginning to show that he's always come back. Where he had the picture of her and all this stuff. Great stuff. And but that wasn't cheating. You know, that was creating our end goal by the person coming back in time. And that's a big difference between saying, okay, all these events happened, and now we're going to go back in time. And it's kind of like waking up from a dream type of movie, where, and of course, the whole end game, even going back in time wouldn't have done. There's so many problems with that plot. I mean, there's Swiss cheese. That was a Tommy gun taken to a piece of cheese. That thing was awful. So all you got to do is think about one little thing, and you're like, oh, I came up with like 12 things that should not have happened with that time travel situation. And that's what we got again here. So big game and end game are the same. The same plot, the same everything all over again, and I was not a fan. So I was a fan of it up till they started playing with the whole time travel thing. So there's a lot of good action in here. I love the Magic Order stepping in on a technicality. I love Kick-Ass eventually getting powers and him, you know, being the hero even without powers, and then him getting rewarded with powers. And then, you know, the villain shoots. We get the same shot twice. He shoots Hit Girl and kills her, and then in the next thing, Hit Girl kills him because there's two Hit Girls. But now that's my problem. Which Hit Girl was killed? If it was now is it a paradox? We don't know. So with time travel, you have to be really into every minutia detail. Has to be dealt with if the future isn't totally dissolved by a person coming back in time, and then they can't go back in time anymore because they're dead or whatever else, or they've changed something that prevents all those events from happening. So, and then there's Kick-Ass's new costume as, you know, America, because he was brought in into the ambassadors, which I said each country has a superpowered person. And then the magic guy gets sent to this other paradise type of thing, or whenever, I guess they don't go to heaven, they go to this other area, kind of like the Elysian Fields kind of thing. I assume that's what he's going for. And then the group in the Elysian Fields kills him a second time. So, okay. Yeah. But here's the other two things I was talking about, Nightclub and Magic Order. Both of them are very good. And again, I liked Big Game all the way up until they started going back in time. So I will pass on this one. I don't like it. I don't like it. I know everybody thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, and I do like Mark Millar's writing. I think that his dialogue is natural, which is hard to do. He does have some interesting characters, but I'm not a fan, so I'm going to say no. And if it does appear, I'm just going to, I don't know, I'll watch it, but it's to me, once I know that the ending is all, you know, contrived. That's how I feel about it. It's contrived. And I hate to say lazy, but it's lazy. Like when I did Destiny Aurora, because there is time travel in there, and I tried to make it more like circular like Terminator. And so I literally mapped everything out that would be a cause and effect. And I just don't feel like that's in here. All right, let's talk about G.I. Joe, because if you saw my last episode, you will know that I hated that G.I. Joe issue with a passion. I was so looking forward to it, and now somebody else just commented out because I put reviews up on Comic Book Roundup, and somebody just commented that they felt exactly the same way I did, so it wasn't just me. But this, I actually have this issue, the actual number one. This is a reprint, facsimile edition. I actually have it, and I'm hoping I would go to Florida for Thanksgiving. I can go grab it, maybe even slab it. But it's written by the same guy that I hated. So I don't know. Now it's like this is from the 80s or the early 90s. I think it's the late 80s. So how do you get worse at your job as you get older? I don't know. But this was a lot better. So of course the dialogue is all kind of name heavy because there's all these characters that he's introducing in these first things. And he's like, "Oh, Clutch, why don't you?" So every piece of dialogue has the person's name in it. But I understand why he did that. But anyway, so this is this is not really a facsimile edition because he has, his text in the beginning here with Skybound and everything else on here, and he also wrote Stan Lee Presents, which I don't understand how Skybound got the rights to reprint something that was Marvel originally. Doesn't have Marvel's thing on here, but you can even buy the thing down here. This is where the use of that the Spidey head was normally with the Marvel logo, and I don't understand how they were able to do this. But anyway, so this has, I think they were tasked with putting every single toy in existence in this. Because like every single character, every single vehicle up to this point is all in here. So it's about this woman that created this doomsday type device that wasn't originally supposed to be a weapon, and then it was weaponized. And of course, G.I. Joe is, I guess, trying to get her as well, but she's been captured by Cobra, and you can see Baroness there has captured her, and they take her to Cobra Island, and then the Pentagon says, "Okay, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to put our G.I. Joe force together. They're like our Impossible Mission force, basically, except pure military." And they put their team together. And again, it's printed on newsprint paper, and and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of this. There's a lot of dialogue in here in comparison again to newer stuff, but I was okay with it. And so there's like the Vamp Jeep, which I enjoyed seeing. And in fact, after I read this, I had to go play my G.I. Joe card game, which I always enjoy. And then we see Stalker, who was always one of my favorites. I think he was like the first one I bought. I really liked the beret. When I was a kid, I really liked the beret he had. And Scarlet there, and all these other guys. And because I had a lot of them. I was one of the first ones that the arm could go like this as opposed to just up and down. And Snake Eyes is blue in here instead of being black. And there's not 10 million derivatives of him like there is in the present stuff. And I also forgot that Scarlet has Chinese stars on her wrist. I thought that was kind of cool, actually. I forgot that she had that. So there's the Cobra Commander. And like, oh, well, they're coming in. And Cobra's like, well, let them come because I have all this stuff planned. And Stalker comes in with a jetpack and blows some of them up. And then the one guy that they didn't kill, the one Cobra officer that they didn't kill, comes in here. Or actually, I guess there's a few of them. And he goes, "Oh, we were outgunned and all this stuff." And Cobra's like, "I'm surprised they didn't kill you all. They're not as good as I thought." I thought that was funny as shit. And then and Baroness is like, "Why aren't we killing her yet? because they want to kill her so that nobody else can basically have her. And he's like, "Oh no, I have everything planned. Don't worry." Yeah, okay. Uh, and then the communications guy, they drill, they dig a hole, and they're like, "That's not a cable, it's a pipe." I was like, "You idiot! The cable's in the pipe." What? How did the communication guy not know the cables are in the pipe on the ground? But it's funny that the other guy calls him an idiot. I don't. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with this because it just didn't take itself too seriously. And then they have some kind of a ship that drops the tank off that I thought was kind of cool. So it's almost like the Normandy situation. So the tank comes off. So now they have the tank on the island. I thought that was all pretty cool. They have mortars going off. They have infiltration, and Snake Eyes and Scarlet are together, infiltrating inside the base while the other guys are on the outside. And so we almost have to have the cover where we have the tank coming in and them all firing, and then they have rock and roll on the bike there. All good stuff, man. This is really good stuff. It shows them his tanks weren't out yet, so it shows them destroying generic Cobra tanks and stuff like that. So, and then Stalker rescues the girl, the woman, but then it's Baroness in disguise. So you think that he has this stuff planned out, but it's very easily destroyed. So Cobra Commander puts on his other helmet and has them put up his hands, or else he's going to kill her, which I don't think they would really have a problem with. Yeah, and Cobra also destroys the tank. They pop up out of the ground, so he did have some of this stuff thought out, but it's very it's very easily demolished here. And I'm talking too long about this, but anyway, so the helicopter goes off, the whole bit. Oh yeah, so here's the problem. There's an editorial problem here. So they have Baroness in custody outside, and yet she's here on the inside. So she appears for a panel before they come in and break through the door. So, oops, she's not supposed to be there. And then the last panel, they totally screw up the coloring because that's Scarlet, and she's got a blue costume on. This page is a mess. Whoever was editing this thing is oops. So they get the girl. Cobra Commander escapes with Baroness, and that's the end of that. But the action was all really good, I thought. And then they have a big thing about the pit, which is their base of operations, and then they go into a second storyline called Hot Potato, where Scarlet is wounded. They have to get a disc back to their other guys that are across the border, and she says, "Go, just leave me here. The mission's more important. Just leave me a gun, and I'll hold them off." And to the point where they won't leave her, and she literally pulls a gun on Snake Eyes and said, "No, this is my orders, go." So Rock and Roll and Snake Eyes run off, and then he turns around and Snake Eyes has gone back. And I really, really like this because it's like, yeah, they will stick up for each other no matter what. And that's what I loved about a lot of the team books back in the day, is that they will do anything for each other. And so the guys are all, Stalker and all those guys are all dressed in Arab uniforms, which I don't think would go off today. And something breaks through the window. They think it's a grenade, but instead it's the disc on a rock. And now Rock and Roll has gone back. They say it's 10 miles, so it's like not something they can do very quickly. And so now it's Snake Eyes and Scarlet stuck in the little thing with Rock and Roll coming back. And all of a sudden, as they're all about to get killed, there's an aerial assault, and they end up saving them. So again, really good stuff. So why did Larry Hama here not do a good job on the new stuff, and the old stuff is good? Your guess is as good as mine. But again, we haven't gotten a good G.I. Joe movie ever. And I really would like to have them in the original costumes. Like in the first costume, they were all in black. I don't know, man. The second one, at least we had a good Snake Eyes slash Storm Shadow movie. Fight scene with them on like the ropes and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. But we got some of the stupid stuff, and then we got the Snake Eyes movie, which I thought was a good setup for Storm Shadow. But then I don't know what the hell was even fucking going on by the end of that movie with snakes and like that. But then we got Scarlet in it, and it was by the girl that played in Ready or Not, and she was great in that, and the Baroness was really good in that one, but that's about the extent of it. And and then it died because it was so bad. So we only had to see Snake Eyes in the very end. Henry Golding, I think, is a good actor, but I guess he didn't want to show. I guess they wanted to show his face throughout the time. That's what was so great about Dredd, and everybody says the same thing, is that Carl Urban had no problem hiding his face through the whole movie. That's the way it should be. All right, and then my last one, I just got in from Kickstarter, Palace of the Golden Princess, number 3 of 5. And to tell you the truth, I can't remember what happened in issue 1 and issue 2. But the artwork here from Preston also does a lot of like stuff sells other kind of comics and things like that. So he's almost like a retailer. And he bought a retailer pledge from me for Lords of LA. But the artwork is decent. I mean, you got a really cool monster there. So you have the Queen in this, and she, you got a really nice 2-page spread. Although I don't know why he put the balloon in the middle. You can't read it. So anyway, so you have the monster is a like a demon, like a god demon, and it's inhabiting the main character, Thalo, or what? I forgot her name. What he should have done in the beginning was given us a recap. Thora. So Thora, and they talked the demon into going, no, we're going to listen to you, blah, 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 just don't kill us. And they said, okay. He says, okay, as long as you follow my rules, the thing, I'll leave you guys alone. But I expect you guys to do it. If not, I'm coming back. And so Thora, which is kind of funny because her top is completely ripped, so she's constantly holding her arms over her chest. And then the queen is like, let's have a feast to celebrate. And why she's wearing a wig, I don't know. But and even when they go to dinner, they don't give her anything to wear on top, so she's trying to have dinner and crossing her arms. And then we get this weird scene with the jester singing, so the whole thing is all them singing. And then Thora takes the other girl and says, I'm going to sacrifice you. I don't know what's going on here. It's something from the previous thing with the jester. I don't know, they're making her look up the girl's skirt or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to sacrifice you to this other god, and you have to sit on the altar, and the other god is like a Medusa with wings. I think the design's pretty cool on that one. Meanwhile, they make all the male guards sit outside, which I thought was strange. And meanwhile, then they hear a scream because the other girl is, being attacked by the Medusa god. And then we get this strange thing with the other jester or whatever the guy is having sex with this girl. And it was a weird thing. And then look at this. The horses are sleeping. Horses don't sleep on their sides. They either go down on their haunches or they sleep standing up. So I don't know about that one. So anyway, so the men run into from the screams, and she's standing on top of the girl that she was sacrificing there, and they're like, "Look, I heard the scream, blah blah blah," and now she's inhabited by the Medusa chick also. So now she's got like 2 different gods in her. Very strange. And they attack her, and she gets the whole thing going up, and she fights back against her own guards. Okay. Although she's talking in blue, which means that the god is taken over completely. So so she beats them, and she's like, I'm taking over the world now. Let's see. Do not think you suffer in vain, for I am enjoying this a great deal. And that's the end of that. So it's interesting. The artwork's really good. I like all the god stuff going on. There's some creative choices as far as script is concerned that I don't quite understand. So it's decent, but I think it's a little bit skewed as far as some of the creative choices is concerned. I like the world. I like the world that's built around it, and I think that it would make a decent, a decent fantasy storyline as long as kind of refined. The storyline's got to be a little bit more refined. All right, so let's see where it goes. So I'm going to hold on that one until I see where it goes. So let's recap. So Preston Poulter's Palace of the Golden Princess, I were reserved to see where it goes. G.I. Joe, I liked it. Yeah, this would make a good G.I. Joe film. It's not, again, it's the same thing, Attack the Cobra or whatever else, but I like the way this was set up a lot better than anything else I've seen. And again, this is going back to issue 1 in the 80s. Big Game, I do not need to see a recap of Endgame, but I didn't like that. So I'm going to say no to that one. Sorry, Mark. Green Lantern, a Sinestro Green Lantern movie would be awesome, but this storyline particularly wouldn't work because it's already too deep into the relationship. And Batman and Robin, no. Unfortunately, this is just going downhill fast. All right, well, that's it for me. I talked too long on that shit to begin with. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe. And I'm going to put the QR code back up for issue 2 and issue 1 of Lords of LA. If you can support it, please do. Again, the link is below as well. Vampire Mob in the 1950s. We got Tommy guns everywhere. It's going to be awesome. And we got a werepanther in this one, too. So we got some monsters, too. And remember that the QR card is over here. And remember, some of my other videos are going to pop up here as well. I do movie reviews and comic reviews and also board game unboxings and things to that effect. All right, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. And you guys have a good one, and I will see you after the holiday.